in the mirror, there go your hero.
Hi, I'm Obi, and today we're going to be talking about BNA. This will be the third time that I try to do this. BNA is really good, and it's really hard not to just like gush about it. It was my first studio trigger experience. Whenever I first saw this one, it's on Netflix, right? And it was right next to Beastars, and I was like, ooh. So I know that one's furry shit. I just know it, right? But this other BNA one looks really pretty. And I know that I could take psychological damage from engaging in furry shit, but it looked pretty, and that's all it took to sway me. Alright, so jumping right in, the opening. I actually really like this opening. It's really good. I love the bit where Shirou is wolf and then he's human. Sidebar, I do find human Shirou attractive and I do want to cosplay him, so I need you guys to watch this, because if I cosplay him, I need at least one person to recognize me as not being a Bungo Stray Dogs character. That would be nice. But yeah, the opening's really great. The end song is also really great. Both those songs are on Spotify, by the way. You're welcome. In this very quiet opening scene, we establish that there is strife between the Beastmen and the humans, and that there is at least a group of people that is trying to kind of cool the flames there, kind of like bring people together and kind of, you know, counter racism, basically. It's definitely a narrative about, you know, racial tension. So Michiru, after evading the human supremacists and getting her money, she hops on top of a bus, and we get a lovely scene with a lovely color palette of her on the way to Anima City. And we know that because she pulls out her phone and we see a little talking bit about it. And you know what? That's fine. I don't mind a little bit of handing us information on a plate. And so we know that Michiru, our main character, our tanuki girl, is headed to Anima City. However, that trip is promptly interrupted by some thugs on motorcycles trying to kill her. While Michiru is a little bit of a cynic, this still seems like a little bit of a surprise. She ends up cornered and surrounded in a forest. Michiru is saved by Marie the mink, and Marie takes her for all her money. She kind of wants payment for helping her out in this situation, which, I mean, you know, she did help her out. Michiru's pretty smart about it. Marie would rather have a favor, I think, is what she was going for. And Michiru is like, nah, I'll give you money. The cynic side of Michiru is just absolutely, I treasure Michiru. But yeah, Michiru makes it to the city, and it's kind of uncomfortable. It's like desolate at first, which is spooky, and promptly it gets uncomfortably dangerous, and I don't know about y'all, my red flags are going off with that, but no need to fear. It's fine. She's safe. It's all good. But yeah, it turns out it's a festival. They just set it up in such a way that scared the hell out of freaking Michiru. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time, my guy. But yeah, it's all bright and colorful, and this is kind of the moment where I fell in love with Studio Trigger. Because, oh my god, there's so much color and so much joy, and it's just so pretty. And then we meet Shirou, and Michiru was immediately just dishing out that Gen Z kind of like anti-dad humor. So one thing that I really like about Shirou is just how soft he is. Like, considering how intensely powerful he is, like, I appreciate that him's also a soft Beastman boy who cares about the well-being of others and his people and stuff. Like, yes please. Yes please. So Michiru meets up with Marie at the fair, carnival, festival. While they're kind of bickering, some little dude runs up and steals what's left of her money. Michiru runs off to try and catch the thief. She ends up in a weird location off of the festival. And in this weird location, she sees a maintenance guy kind of working on something. And so she gets upset after the wolf dude runs away that she got distracted and missed out on catching the thief. She slams her hand against the structure, and all of a sudden an explosion happens behind her, and it starts to fall down. She goes to run in one direction, realizes there's an old man in the way and that he might die any second, and so she runs off in the direction towards him to save him. As they're about to be crushed by the structure, Shirou runs in and snatches him out of danger, because he's a good boy. Shirou, at first, takes everything at face value, Armando, and thinks that Michiru caused this destruction. She, of course, puts him in his place, because she ain't putting up with nothing. Love Michiru. Whenever Shirou realizes that there's more to the situation than just Michiru, he uses an ability that is unlike anything that we've seen, and it kind of proves that there's some things that go beyond the regular abilities of a Beastman. Michiru also realizes that her wallet's still missing, and she runs off after him in that direction because that's where she thinks the thief went. And so Shirou catches up with the criminal and absolutely lays the hurt into them. He can smell that they are traitors, that they have been dealing with humans. In his mind, the humans are pure evil, and there is no way that any beastman that works as a human isn't a traitor to their kind. This scene with the fighting and Shirou just owning everything is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Kudos to you, Trigger. We also see that Michiru has a special ability, kind of like Shirou's, that's beyond just the animal strength and the innate extra power. She can kind of shapeshift in a way. She can alter her form. The hook at the end of this episode is Michiru's revelation that she is, in fact, not a beastman at all. Now, from what we know at this point, that seems kind of stupid. Number one, she don't look like a human. She look like a beastman. Number two, can't they shapeshift? Can't like a beastman look like a person and a person look like a beastman? So like, it's kind of like an in-between thing. Like, sure, there's the humans who can't shift, but there's also the humans that can. That's the beastmen, right? We find out no, there's a very distinct difference because of Shirou's reaction. He's like, no. Hun, you can't do that. Hun, you can't be human. And yeah, so that's the episode. We're like, wait, what? What are you? In the next episode, it kind of leaves off right where we left off in the first one, with that hook, and Shirou explains that, yeah, no, she's a beastman. In fact, she's a tanuki. If you know anything about tanuki, in the lore, they're tricksters and shapeshifters and stuff, so that's kind of probably where the idea for her abilities came from and kind of what it's rooted in. But we don't really know much past that, and that's kind of inferred. It's not really stated, and it's never stated at all, I don't think, why she's able to do that. We just kind of accept it and roll with it because she's not the only one that has unique abilities. Obviously Shirou does, but there's only a handful that do, and we meet them. But as they're leaving, Michiru sees Shirou for the first time in his human form, and she has the same reaction I did. Shirou takes her to the government official that he works with, which is this little rooster dude and his wife. They're pretty chill. Their job is to help out incoming people, so he's the exact person that you want to take Michiru to, because she's incoming and she needs help. They give her a Beastman test, which is kind of like a little like stick-on little band-aid test, and yeah, she's a Beastman for sure. He kind of looks at her and he's like, well, duh, you're a Beastman, like, look at you. And she's like, I'm not a Beastman, I can prove it. My ID says I'm a student. And then she's like, wait, but my ID was stolen. And they're like, well, without that, I mean, yeah, you're obviously a Beastman. Like, so they kind of give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, they're not calling her like a liar. Like, they're not saying that she's insane or nothing. They just are like, well, you're gonna have to get registered as a Beastman because that's what you are. Clearly. She stays with them, and then the next day she goes to go get registered, and she sees the thief. She runs after him because she's like, if I can get my ID back, then I can prove that I'm a human. Maybe they can help me. She manages to catch him, which is pretty impressive. Marie kind of interrupts, and the dude gets away. Marie tells her that the thief wouldn't have had it anyways. It's already gone. It's already lost to Anima City. She tells her to go look in Rabbit Town. It's kind of a little bit of a sketchy side of town. It's got a little bit of a gang, and that's the Rabbit Gang. And it's all women. And I had a lot of things that I wanted from this episode. This is the one that let me down, to be honest. And so these Rabbit Town ladies, they cut her a deal. They're like, hey, we'll give you your wallet back. Literally just your ID, basically. If you teach these orphan kids that we are taken care of, if you teach them how to read. And so, I mean, who wouldn't, right? Like, so yeah, she starts to go in there and she starts to teach him how to read. We start to find out that something's shady about that whenever we see Shirou kind of scoping out the area. And we don't really fully see what's up with that until a man shows up. Because the root of all evil is men. Accurate. And he tells these ladies that if they don't give them some money, they're gonna throw down with their much larger gang, because they're big old men and they're just so dangerous. So they talk about these goods that they have that they've been meaning to sell off, but they wanted to wait until they were better products. And so after a little bit of chit chat, we realize that they're talking about the children. And they're gonna sell the children. And so they do that, and the next couple of scenes are pretty frightful. They're on the docks. Michiru and these kids are in a box, and they're about to be sent off on a barge to be sold somewhere. Michiru pulls some hijinks with her shape-shifting ability, and we get to see more of that. Shirou steps in by the time that Michiru managed to stop most of it. Michiru is rightfully enraged by his choices here. Not only did he put the children and her in danger, but he did so in a very decisive way. Like, he chose to put them into this danger in order to get some evidence or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but like, we could have been sold.
まだ証拠がなかった。逮捕するには現場を抑えるしかない。
それで間に合わなかったらどうしたの？
俺はミスを犯さない。
それを見て、私は人間よ。何がミスは犯さないよ。自分の間違いが分かった。こんな街も獣人も大嫌い。
Michiru's cutbacks, man. She's not putting up with anybody's shit. I respect Michiru so much. So the thing that I didn't like about this was that we had like a feminist gang willing to like protect themselves and their interests and stand up for what they believed in and this and that and support each other, most importantly, especially in a world where, well, we currently have, you know, the same thing where men are pretty and worthless and will just run away and leave people with kids and leave people in debt, like my ex did, and steal our cats. Men are the worst. And I didn't like that they chose to portray them in a way that was this kind of negative, because we really don't see that again. Like, you couldn't have picked like a gang of men to show in this light, because most gangs are probably male anyways. Like, I didn't like that the one girl gang was the one that they kind of screwed over in that way. I didn't appreciate that at all. I mean, can we really expect more? No, it is still anime. You can't expect the most feminist thing you've ever seen, but I still wanted, you know, I wanted my cool girl gang. I wanted them to show up later and be like, so. In episode 3, Shirou does this really cool thing with his abilities where he not only can smell in such a way that he can put together images of what has happened in the recent past, he can also smell memories. Which is wild. And her friend changed first and was taken away. And so whenever Michiru changed, she hid instead of, letting herself be taken away like that. And then she, pretty soon after, ran away to Anima City. If the humans found out that they could be infected with the Beastman trait, especially considering that they see Beastman as lesser, and it's very much reflective of racial tensions, so you can kind of see the extra little spice of supremacy anger, and they would burn the whole city down. It would be a massacre. So rightfully so, Shirou is frightened for the future of the city, and he locks her up. Before he can run away and go try and figure stuff out, the mayor shows up and is asking him for help with a bomb situation. Michiru is like, hey, mayor, you want to help me out? And the mayor's like, yo, you shouldn't lock people up. And so they discuss it, and Michiru is allowed to kind of like work with Shirou and be free in the city so long as she doesn't tell anyone else that she's a human. And they go to handle the bombs. Almost instantly, Shirou's handled the bomb situation. However, he sends Michiru to kind of keep an eye on the hospital since that was threatened. Michiru sees some shady stuff going down, and she goes to investigate. So while she's investigating and getting caught by those shady people, she's seen by some of the doctors in the hospital, and they recognize her in her human form. Like they know what happened to her, and they know that something's up, and they say directly, it's her. Like, shady as hell. So she's thinking that if she can, talk to the hospital, kind of figure it out, they'll help her. In reality, almost instantly it becomes clear that they have something to do with it, and that they were looking for her, and the people who were captured her friend are probably the people who work for the hospital. So lots of fun coming up in the next couple episodes. You should watch the show. But in those next couple sequences, Shirou saves her from the bad men who corner her, and a bomb goes off in the hospital. As they're running up towards the hospital, Michiru kind of makes a choice.
危険だ。
じゃあ認める。本当は人間だけど今の私はやっぱり獣人。
Basically, she decides that she's going to take action in this situation as a beastman instead of as a human, which is a big moment, for someone who's been saying, I'm a human, I'm a human, I'm a human the whole time. So
口だけは。
Shirou barely caught on to what she was trying to say. They go to investigate the hospital, and Shirou almost immediately figures out it was an explosion, but it wasn't done by a terrorist group. It was done by the doctors in the hospital in order to destroy evidence and records and stuff. Probably have something to do with the Michiru thing or other things that they've been doing shadily. Shirou goes off to fight both of them. Michiru gets caught up in it. She ends up on the roof being held by the chameleon dude. She managed to activate her ability to shapeshift in time to get out of the clutches of the chameleon, but she goes flying off into the open air of the hospital. Shirou dives off after her and falls in the most inelegant way, but the way that it's animated with like the angles and the art and everything, it's so beautiful, and then it's so funny because it's so inelegant, and I love it. At that point, we get the proper final hook of the first 2 episodes, and that is we find out that the humans are coming. I really like this anime. I like this anime a lot. The world is interesting, it's really colorful, it's pretty, everything is likable, and it's just got a lot going on. The first handful of episodes are secluded stories, like episodic, and then it kind of goes into an arc, and the arc's really interesting. You find out more about Shirou, and that's wild, but there's no point in shipping them. Just gonna go ahead and tell you that it's not. You're gonna regret it later if you do, because you're gonna learn some things and you're gonna be like, oh. I love how there's like a 90s feel to the color palette, but it's so much brighter and so much more pastel and so much more colorful. Because it has that wonderful feel of anime while still feeling almost more like a cartoon. Like it's definitely right in the middle with the color palette, which I really like. Beautiful. Beautiful. It has a lot of themes, it has a lot of things that I think are really important. It has a whole section about social media and the kind of like the like lies of it and performative activism. That's it. Hi, welcome to today's episode of I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm having fun doing it. I've been doing my contour wrong like this entire time. Like, the color contrast in this had me giddy. What do you think of this? Wait, no. In one of the recordings of this I said that I would watch Beastars if I liked Land of the Lustrous, which is by the same studio, whatever freaking studio it is. I actually since then have watched Land of the Lustrous, the first 2 episodes, and it was better than I thought it would be, but it wasn't that inspiring and I probably won't continue it. So I didn't make the promise to you, but here I am fulfilling the promise and letting you know that I won't be watching Beastars. I don't want to watch furry shit in my own home with my cat, my poor child. I don't want her to see that, okay? She's only like a year old. She's almost 2. She doesn't need to be exposed to that, okay? Have some consideration. Don't ask this of me. Let me just say, I don't hate furries. I know it sounds like I do, but I do respect the costuming and how much work goes into it and all the technical skills you have to have in order to create something like that. That's it. Please watch Beastars.